Good afternoon. I'm Chris License and you found OLT, our license to travel. Today we're going to talk about towable or ST special trailer tires. For you Airstream owners, it's a little different. We'll explain. As you may know, our saga with repairs and TSBs, that's technical service bulletins, began almost a year ago for us with a double blowout, more like a vaporization, of two rear tires on our fifth wheel RV. They were factory originals. We've almost exclusively used discount tires since I've known they were around. They are who we were able to use while in Idaho working our way back to home in Arizona last season. We upgraded from the factory Chinese tires to a, shall we say, more mainstream foreign tire. You see, our problem is that ours and many RVs come with 16-inch rims, which means there are virtually no U.S. manufacturers who produce quality tires for that particular size. I think it's an ST235 R80 16 in that particular rim. Here's a quick little note in case you hadn't already guessed. When you're stuck on the side of the freeway just 5 miles down the road from where you had the first fail with a second failure, in most cases you've already used your only spare and are now at the mercy of the road pirates who sometimes drive tire service trucks and not Spanish galleons. Yeah, that second blowout service was over $1,000 for a $250 offshore tire with a name I can't pronounce and for mounting it on an old rim. The next day we were able to get into the local discount tire, I think in Boise.
If ever you're not satisfied with one of our tires, please feel free to bring it back. Thank you.
Where we put the freeway purchase on our spare and bought 4 new tires with road hazard warranties for just slightly more than the one we bought the night before. We would love to upgrade to a now available 17.5-inch rim wheel, which would open up the ability to purchase US-made tires like Cooper. But for now, it's not in the budget. However, this is a great opportunity to talk about tire safety, talk about proper inflation, talk about the best maintenance on your tires, things to look for to avoid blowouts. I also wanted to cover some things like differences between ST special trailer tires and LT tires or light truck tires, plus some good things to do when you're actually at the tire shop and getting your tires and or wheels replaced. Well, there's a lot to cover in this video, so let's get started. But like we said earlier, this is specifically about towable RVs. A Class A tire, which can include Bs and Cs, is a completely different animal. The closest I've ever come to them would be what our support services put on our fire apparatus. So yeah, little to none. Now, we've known some folks with Class A's who've had blowouts in their RVs, but it is important for any RV owner to really understand this information for yourself. Use a video like this as a stepping stone to really investigate and understand certain ideas so that you can do more of a deep dive, investigate, and truly understand the decisions that's right for you. The specific RV that you're towing, routes you take, and possibly where you're going to store it, etc. Goodyear has a great blog about tire safety that we'll link below in the show more notes. They have some great information about maintenance, inflation, and other great things you should know. In other words, you should take ownership of understanding the tires for your RV. After all, it's probably the most important aspect of the RV in relation to safety. Okay, so how about what should you look for to make sure that your tire is in good condition to go on those amazing trips? Number 1, inspect. Before you go on any trip, you should be doing a thorough inspection of your tires. Hey, look for things like cracking on the sidewalls. Don't hesitate to have a tire pro evaluate them. if you see this, which usually means replacement. B, wear. Uneven wear on the tire is a big issue. Is it just an inflation issue? If you're underinflated, you're going to be wearing on the outer edges of the tire, which builds up heat, which can destroy the tire casing, like devulcanizing it. Overinflation would cause the wearing of the center of the tread on your tire. If you have axle problems or bearing issues, you may notice uneven wear on the tires. This is a much bigger problem and needs to be evaluated quickly. So look for cracks, uneven wear, odd wear, and look at both sides of the tire. Yeah, get down on the ground and take a look. Another huge question is, when is it time to go ahead and replace the tire? First is the DOT or DOT date stamp, which is a 4-digit number stamped into the casing of the tire. The first 2 digits of the number stand for the week of the year of manufacture, and the last 2 digits is the last 2 numbers of the year of that manufacture. So this is the date stamp on our tires, and after nearly a year you can see that there are no obvious problems, no uneven wear on these tires. With a complete new set of skins, tires, including a spare, we feel confident to get back out on the road. We most likely will replace them after 3 years no matter what with our previous history with these tires. One of the biggest factors with when it's time to change a tire is, number 1, have you owned them on your rig since they were new? And if there's been more than 3 years, you might want to consider replacing them now, especially if you're planning a busy travel season. Maybe most importantly, how have you been maintaining the tires? We take the couple of minutes it takes to cover tires if we're going to be sitting for more than a few days. If you store it, be sure to maintain the proper PSI as it cools off outside. Your tire pressure will drop. The reverse is true if it's hot outside. You also want to be sure to move the RV a little every once in a while to ensure you don't get any flat spots on the tires. So now let's talk about the difference between ST and LT tires. But before we get into this, let's talk about selecting a tire shop. Here in the Phoenix Valley, there are a plethora of tire shops. And even with Discount Tire, there are some more suited to changing tires on an RV. And for us, our F450 has 19.5-inch commercial wheels, which a lot of shops are unequipped, that's tools and training, to handle what we need. So there is one that we use in Apache Junction that fits our needs perfectly. So if you're in a part of the country that you're unfamiliar with, it might be a good idea to call ahead and see if they can replace RV and commercial vehicle tires. Then take a satellite view of their lot to see if you can fit and maneuver there. Another thing to consider is, predictable is preventable. You should probably do a practice tire change before you start that trip to make sure you have the right tools and you know how to use them and that it's doable for you. Practice now in front of your house before it happens in the middle of the night on a dark desert highway. Isn't that an Eagle song? Cool wind in my hair? Okay, when it comes to trailer tires, there's usually 2 things that sparks a lot of debate. Don't let me down, guys. Number 1 is how to properly inflate those tires, and number 2 is ST versus LT. How about we talk about that first? So let's start with what the ST and LT stands for. ST stands for Special Trailer, and LT stands for Light Truck. There is no way to sugarcoat this, but before the Goodyear Endurance tires, a US manufacturer, ST tires really sucked. And for the most part, they still kind of do. Most only went up to a 65 mile an hour speed rating. Everyone we know has had all kinds of problems with those types of tires. That problem has been prevalent for years, which prompted many RVers of the towable type to switch to LT tires to help alleviate the problem, and these folks swear by the change. Then about 7+ years ago, the Goodyear Endurance tire came out. It is an ST tire that has an 87 mile per hour speed rating and solved a lot of the problems that most likely gave the ST tires a bad reputation. Our only problem was that they weren't made in the beginning for 16-inch rims and the load capacity that we need for our fifth wheel. But we put them on our Winnebago ultralight 30-foot bumper pull and no more problems. Till we went bigger. We have done some deep research on just what is the difference between ST and LT and what is the proper tire to use. If you talk with the tire manufacturers like Goodyear, they're going to say without a doubt, if you're towing, you should be using ST. I also wanted to cover some things like differences between ST special trailer tires and LT tires or light truck tires, plus some good things to do when you're actually at the tire shop and getting your tires and or wheels replaced. They are designed to deal with heat. That is critical when towing. They have stiffer sidewalls for turning, so the tires don't tend to peel off the rims. And for the scuffing that happens with sharp back-end turns in particular. And their propaganda says that they have a tread pattern designed for towing. Supposedly helps to keep it cooler. Now, LT tires are designed more for general cornering. It's got more flex in the sidewalls, steering, accelerating, etc. You know, things that a light truck and not your trailer were designed to be doing. Now let's throw a monkey back into that wrench. Airstream puts the LT Michelin tire on their trailers right from the factory. So of course, a lot of folks think that if Airstream's doing this, then it's probably a better tire. The only reason that I can think of that Airstream might do this is because they only make one type of trailer. With LT tires having a slightly lower profile, they may fit their wheel wells better as well. Even with this, if you try to put an LT Michelin tire on your towable, many tire shops, discount included, will not do it. Just be careful. Like Airstreamers, the Grand Design Factory have switched to a 17.5-inch rim to take advantage of the US-made commercial tires like what Cooper is making. They now have come standard on many of their RVs, eliminating a lot of problems. Please pay close attention to where jack points are on your RV. Jacking. Airstreams in particular have a square metal pad on their frames. Do not put the jack on the label. You'll crush that panel.
You want to come right to this metal plate right here. You'll actually see there's rivets. There's a little frame line right here. So we're going to take our jack, start to bring it up so that we're sitting right on that plate.
In most other vehicles, you use the frames, but lots of folks actually lift with the axles. Please don't do that. If you absolutely need to lift at the axles, then do it at the U-bolts. Here. It is the strongest point on the axle, which is made of steel and at a thickness to provide some flex. Lifting anywhere else along that axle could permanently damage it. Some tire shops have a high turnover rate, so be there to advocate for your RV, so to say. Hey, let's quickly talk about a TPMS system. Number one, is it absolutely necessary? Short answer, no. Number two, why do I have one? Same reason so many others do. So very few folks check the pressures of their tires as often as is needed to be safe. The TPMS, tire pressure monitoring system, makes it easy and convenient. You just hook it up, turn it on, and right there on your dash is everything you want to know about your tires at a glance. It makes it really easy to spot a problem with obvious trends. If all of your RV tires that are 110, that's ours, whatever PSI is right for you, and you have one at 135 PSI, you know you have a problem. Same with temperature. It gives you an early indicator to let you pull over and deal with the problem. Say maybe a proactive change to your spare till you can get that tire inspected. It's just so very convenient. Inflation. What PSI do you inflate your tires to? Most tire shops will tell you that they inflate tires to the suggested PSI that is listed on the sticker inside the door jamb of your vehicle. For RVs, they virtually always inflate to the max capacity listed on the tire. That's max cold. Most RVs nowadays come with a placard that shows suggested PSI for inflation based on the GVW of your rig. When you get work done to your tires, your technicians will torque your lug nuts to the manufacturer's wheel specifications. If you take a wheel off, you should do the same. Carry a torque wrench. Don't put the lug nuts on with an impact wrench. The tire shops have an extension on their sockets that limits the amount of torque that the impact can impart. Then hand torque it from there. After about 50 to 100 miles, take your torque wrench or go back to a shop and have them re-torque to be sure they haven't loosened. Once again, for optimal comfort and safety, inflate your tires to your current payload cold. To prevent taking a chance, if you don't know your payload, then inflate them to your tire's max cold recommendation. If you want a scare or maybe a pleasant surprise, pull into a cat scale and weigh your rig. FYI, max cold does not mean the maximum pressure that the tire can handle. It is the pressure that you inflate that tire to in the AM before you begin driving. The tires are capable of going way beyond that pressure and often do on hot summer days like here in Arizona. Does that help? I know that it's a lot to swallow, but you and your family's safety are riding on the tires you have on your rig. Doing your due diligence and learning about your tires and how to maintain them needs to be a primary concern for all of us. There are already enough hazards out there that we have to watch out for. If this is your first time here on OLT, thank you for checking our channel out. And to all of our community, you have been what makes this world shine for us. We are always amazed to see you all back, sharing with us and each other in the comments below. We hope we see you all again next week, right here on Our License to Travel. Until then, please, travel safe.